Last summer, Malta took its citizenship program offline, reworked it, raised some of the costs, and now the program is back. I'm going to explain to you how you can get Maltese, and by extension, European Union citizenship, in as little as a year. I'm going to tell you the new prices, what's changed, who's eligible, and who I think might want to give this program a look. I'm Andrew Henderson, and here at Nomad Capitalist, our team of over 30 people, our network of global experts that I've spent over a dozen years curating, all work together to help 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs legally go where they're treated best. Today I'm going to talk about Malta's new, what I would call, citizenship by investment program. They call it a program for exceptional investors, and they have made some changes to this. Now, you may have been familiar, if you've been looking around for citizenship options in Europe, with what was called the IIP, the Individual Investor Program, where you can get citizenship in Malta in as little as a year. When you add in some of the paperwork and some of the processing time, you're looking at between a year and a year and a half to where you can get one of the best passports in the world in your hand, have access to live and work and study and travel as a European Union citizen, and that gives you access to a lot of places in Europe. So what's changed? Well, namely, the program has become more expensive, and as a business person, I understand this. They have a artificially small supply of citizenships. They don't want to be granting gazillions of these, and so demand is up from people all around the world for top-tier citizenship, so they raised the price. 750,000 euros is now the donation that you make to the Malta government in exchange for getting on this track to citizenship in as little as 1 year. If you have dependents, they can be added for 50,000 euros each. Who's a dependent? Well, that is a spouse unique to Malta that can be a same-sex or an opposite-sex spouse. So that is an advantage for gay couples versus any of the Caribbean programs looking for citizenship. You can add children up to age 18, up to 29 if they're not married and financially dependent on you, or if they are disabled. You can add parents over 55 over certain conditions. So 750,000 euros is the starting point, and then you can add additional people from there. They've added a slow track. 3 years, if you want to wait 3 years rather than 1, you can reduce that main applicant donation down to 600,000 euros. Doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. Why, if you're spending the money, you would save a relatively nominal amount of money to slow it down. You can go elsewhere in Europe and get on a track to citizenship in 5 years by merely investing your money, by starting a business, by doing so many other things. I don't understand that new option. I understand why they rolled it out, but I don't understand why someone would avail themselves of that. They've also put in a new requirement for real estate. It's existed, now it's more expensive, particularly on the buy side. So you have to have a genuine link to the country, which means you need to, unlike a Caribbean program, go and actually spend a little bit of time in Malta to show that you are connected to the country. Enough that they can kind of satisfy the rest of Europe. And so in addition to that, you need to maintain a home for the first 5 years of citizenship. They've substantially increased the purchase amounts. If you're sitting on cash, as I know some people, and I'm working with some people who are sitting on cash, let me buy a property, I'll sell it 5 years from now, it's going to cost you a lot more, about double in fact, 700,000 euros in a property investment that you need to hold for 5 years. You should live there. Okay? Now, the rental requirements remain relatively unchanged, 18,000 euros a year for 5 years. So I think for most people, unless you genuinely want to go and live in Malta and do the tax planning around that, you're probably just going to rent. I mean, the opportunity cost seems quite high now that they've made this such a delta between the two. So that's the real estate requirement. They've added, or rather enhanced their requirement for you to make an additional 10,000 euro donation to a charity, to an NGO. That's requirement. Due diligence costs have gone up a little bit. Some have speculated, it seems that that's the way that they're kind of changing the due diligence around a little bit, where you need to become a resident first, and they've slightly changed that process. Then you'll apply for citizenship. So they're expecting a bit more due diligence. Malta is a program that historically has rejected about 1 in 4 people. And so if you've been rejected for visas in other countries, if you have any kind of criminal record, you're going to have a tough time in Malta. Now, they are certainly open to all different sorts of industries, and I have people that are going to Malta and that we've sent there, all of whom, by the way, have chosen the rental option for property. But some of them are in businesses that are interesting. So it's not, if what you're doing is legal, then you might be okay. But they have rejected people. They don't want unsavory characters, is basically the point. And now they're going to be a little bit more stringent, which is good, I think. So you're looking at that donation, you're looking at a little bit higher fees. This is not a program for folks who are looking for a deal. And sometimes I speak to Westerners, especially to Americans, who have what is also a relatively good passport, not so much in the last year, but what has been historically a good passport, and they are kind of shocked at how much it costs, even for a Caribbean program. This is certainly an extra rung higher in terms of expense. This is not a cheap program. Not only the donation, the charitable donation, the obligation to rent a place you might not want to spend much time in. I mean, that's a largely all sunk cost, in addition to higher due diligence fees, higher legal fees, extra costs. I mean, everything in Europe is more expensive, whether it's living there, whether it's doing tax planning. If you're looking for a bargain, Europe is not your place. But what you are getting is one of the top citizenships in the world. Malta passport rates very highly on our Nomad Passport Index that we publish every year. And so those are basically the changes that they're doing. And so it's going to still take, in my opinion, from day one to the time you get your passport in hand, about 18 months. You're going to, again, have some commitment, not too bad, but a little bit of a commitment to spend time in Malta in there. And it's going to cost you, in dollar terms, probably north of $1 million by the time you're done. What does it offer you? Again, it offers you that instant European Union citizenship. Now, I understand some folks have an opinion of the European Union. I personally prefer up-and-coming places, although I do see a value for having a Western country in your portfolio as I get a little bit older. This is for someone who does not want to wait. There are plenty of options where you can go either by spending time in Europe or by not spending time living in Europe. You can invest money, not a sunk cost, but an investment, or again, a business or hiring or whatever it may be, and you can get a citizenship potentially in 3 years, generally in 5 or 6 years, and that's your ticket to the European Union. So if you have that patience, then you probably wouldn't do this program. And so what I'll often tell people is, find a cheaper citizenship program if you need a second passport now. I think everyone needs dual citizenship. But particularly if you have an active need to be a dual citizen today, go potentially somewhere else and then work towards something better. You can save some money. However, there are some people. I have a gentleman recently, sold a company, made a lot of money, did very well for himself, and he has some family in Europe. He would like to go and live with his family. He's going to be retiring, and he just wants to go and spend time there. And the idea of being more tethered to Portugal or Latvia or Ireland, that's not where in Europe he wants to be. He'd like to be where his family is, which is not a country that offers a program like this. And so if he gets on the track from Malta, he can spend the money, and that's the price of admission to where now as an EU citizen he can go and register and live in any other country he wants. He's still an American. He's going to pay U.S. tax. Maybe he'll pay a little bit extra if he spends too much time in Europe, but he's not concerned about tax. And so I think that's perhaps the person that we're talking about, the person who wants the best of the best, and they want it now. And so certainly I will talk to someone. I am not a Maltese attorney, so I have no interest in selling Malta over anything else. But I also understand that even though I think waiting several years to get that European passport is a good thing, even though I think European passports are a little bit over-glamorized, they are certainly a legacy brand name. Certainly this is not a cheap program. If you have $50 million, if you have $100 million, maybe even if you have a little less, the idea of spending $1 million just to have what you want now, I think is something that some people don't understand, and I think there's a need for that. I also think if you think you will want it in the future, who knows how long these kinds of programs could be around. Certainly Europe, the European Union in general, the European Commission does not like these types of programs. And Malta has been pushing back very hard and being very aggressive in saying, we're allowed to do this, it's helping our economy, we're following all of your rules, and you keep changing the rules. I support Malta, but who knows what happens in the future. They're certainly not going to go back and take everyone's citizenship who got citizenship, but they might at some point say, just as Cyprus did, for different reasons, we're not going to do this anymore. And so if you want this, if you think in a year you might want it, if you're some of the people I talk to where we'd like to move to Europe in 2 years, I would probably get this one going now. Again, there are other options that can work more affordably, but if you just want the total freedom and flexibility that citizenship, not residence, offers, and you're willing to pay for it, this is the program. Overall, it's about 120, 130,000 euros for a single person, more expensive than it would have been a year ago. Or a little bit more than that for a family, although the family cost didn't go up that much. So you're looking at a greater expense, which is why if you like something, do it before it goes away or goes up in price. That's the deal on Malta, and definitely something worth considering. How can Nomad Capitalist help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get our new video every day. Number 2, get a copy of Nomad Capitalist, the book. You'll learn a lot of my personal experiences over a dozen years of studying this stuff, as well as exactly some of the strategies that you can use to build your Nomad Capitalist plan. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and I, you want to come and mingle with like-minded people, learn more about our live conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. It's coming up soon. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to lower your taxes, get a second passport, or build the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle of your dreams, go to nomadcapitalist.com and click on Become a Client.